Kolkata's heritage beyond tangible dimensions. In this presentation, we will cover what do we mean by heritage of Kolkata. Kolkata, the city of Kolkata is already renowned, because it is known as the city of joy, it is known as the city of palaces. So, what does it imply when we talk about heritage of Kolkata? Does it imply built structures, colonial and native structures, also the intangible aspects, and also the water heritage so far as this specific city is concerned, or all of them. So, what do we mean by historic sewers which also constitute engineering heritage of the city? And finally, we also talk about the expansion of the concept or the connotation of heritage and why is it important for us to internalize this expansion. So, the city of joy, and you see the map here, and this particular part, the pinkish part, the pink color over here, it comprises the Dalhousie area CBD, which means Central Business District area, and this is old Kolkata, but this is also colonial Calcutta, and Calcutta of course was developed as a colonial city. And in this area, this area like it flaunts, favishly flaunts British administrative, public and commercial buildings. And apart from this, we have this this yellow part, which is the Chitpur area, which also comprises like palatial structures and buildings apart from the colonial edifice. And this is mainly indigenous styles, but it also to an extent reflects European styles. So, there is an amalgamation of different styles such as Palladian, Baroque, Gothic, Neoclassical and also Indo-Saracenic styles of architecture. So, these are some of the historic buildings and architectural heritage of the city of joy. So, here you see the town hall, the Victoria Memorial, the Nizam Palace, and this is the Jorashako Thakurbari, the house of Rabindranath Tagore, the first Bengali Nobel laureate of India. And here you see the marble palace of Rajendranath Malik. So, the philanthropist and the person who belonged to the Subarnabhumi community and very elite and like one of the very elite personalities from Daden, Calcutta, and also this beautiful courtyard of the Bose family or the Bose building from Bagh Bazar. So, apart from the tangible heritage, Kolkata of course is very famous so far her intangible cultural aspects and heritage components are concerned. So, from Boipara, College Street Boipara to Rashogolla to the tramways and to the kumors or this clay idol making as a craft which has brought so much of visibility and exposure to the city. And I am emphasizing on this because in the year 2020, Durga Puja was nominated as part of the is to be enlisted in the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, the UNESCO list in 2020. And this is a very interesting book. It has not been published yet, but you can read the concept of this book from the internet, and this book has been written by Shashwati Bhattacharya, and the name of this book is Potters Without Will. The title is so intriguing. So, Potters Without Will, Ethnography of the Mrit Shilpis in Kolkata. So, she says okay, the Kumatuli the potters, they do not consider themselves as artisans, because they consider themselves as artists, because they do not use the wheel for making the clays. They use their hands as an artist uses his or her hand. So, they use their hand, and that is why they are the potters without the wheel, and that is why they are the artists and not the artisans. So, this book is going to be very interesting because through this ethnographic method, through the application of ethnography, qualitative investigations on the Mritshilpis of Kolkata, Bhattacharya is or will be bringing out the structural relationship between urbanization, globalization, neoliberalism, and these the idol makers of Kumartuli and their indigenous occupational as part of indigenous occupational categories and also identity politics. Now, there is a lot of hue and cry so far as protecting, safeguarding Kolkata's built structures are concerned, because Kolkata also she draw her nomenclature is like a city of palaces in a hoary past. So, so far as this heritage movement is concerned, there is lot of discussions about the preservation of the colonial edifice in the central business district area, or the conservation of the big palatial architectural structures or the buildings in the northern part of Kolkata. But barely seldom there are discussions, there are considerations so far as the standard residential buildings of the middle class Bengali in the southern part of Kolkata is concerned. So, this is where Amit Chaudhary, he has started a movement, he has launched a movement since few years, where he is keen to talk about and protect the standard residential buildings that otherwise do not gain much limelight so far as the heritage conservation movement is concerned. So, Amit Chaudhary is interested to really talk about and to preserve these buildings in the southern part of Kolkata, and because he says that Calcutta's architecture is unique, and of course, it is disaster, destruction, it is catastrophic for the city. And so, Amit Chaudhary is also trying to save these structures from the fell hands of Philistine developers or promoters in the local parnis. So, I think considering this movement becomes very, very important so far as the heritage activism and the heritage conservation discussions for the city of Kolkata are concerned. Now, coming to the very interesting part, what is the heritage of Kolkata? So, when we are talking about heritage, should we only talk about the built structures? Okay, then we move on to also talk about the softer elements, Durga Pujo or Boipara or tram lines and tramways or Rashogola. But apart from that, we need to talk about water and riverfront heritage so far as this particular city is concerned, because this city owes everything, its origin, its functioning, its survival, everything to waters. The name Kolkata, it is a Bengali nomenclature, and according to some, Kolkata means, if you just segregate these two terms, Kol and Kata. So, Kol means coast or shore, and Kat means being cut, or Kata means being cut by inlets or creeks. And some of the other places in the city or nearby, like Krikro, Ultodanga, these are all names which manifest the riverine topography, the riverine water topography of Kolkata. So, this particular these images, these illustrations and the maps are from one very interesting paper by Sujandra Bardhan and Shou Ponipal from the Department of Architecture, Jadavpur University, where they coined a particular term which they call ghatscape. So, ghatscape implies, you can see ghatscape here. So, this is their conceptual framework. So, ghatscape implies riverfront pavilion with steps descending into the river, and it is a distinct physical form so far as this particular place or space are concerned, and it constitutes different layers. The Ghatscape constitute different layers of geography, geomorphology, hydrology, ecology, ritual, sacral, social and cultural veins, right. And they try to come up with this historic cultural landscape approach, which they say is a tool or is a methodology, which then enables them to actually talk about the preservation of the larger ecological cultural landscape of Kolkata, which is actually an attempt to preserve the rich history of this riverine topography. So, this I found to be very, very important. Now, another very important understanding is about what is known as the engineering heritage of Kolkata. So, what is the engineering heritage of Kolkata? So, I came across a paper where one of our faculty members from the Department of Civil Engineering, Professor Dhrubajyoti Sen, is also a co-author, and beautifully I have never come across this epithet, but beautifully they have used this particular epithet called engineering heritage of Kolkata. And by engineering heritage, you see this map, they are actually talking about the sewer lines, they are talking about the sewerage system of Kolkata, and you see this is the historic sewer canal, which has created an interlinkage between the core city area and the river Kulti, which is the major outfall channel for the city of Kolkata. And this scheme or this combined drainage sewage scheme dates back to several colonial officials, most importantly the colonial official called William Clark, who came up with his or who devised his combined drainage sewerage plan or scheme, where he talked about the two important canals playing very important role in terms of the city's drainage and sewerage function. So, two major canals, SWF, this is the storm water flow channel here, you can see it here, and this is a dead Vidyadhari river, part of which became dysfunctional, and Vidyadhari was officially declared to be dead in 1928. We will learn about this in great details in the next course of our presentation. And but here this is from their understanding, this is from their article, that this of course this is the heritage of the city, because what is a city? A city cannot function without its water in water out system. So, for the operation, for the functioning of a city, it needs the riverfront, it needs water for the drinking purpose as basic utility, and it also needs like drainage channels, sewerage outlets, and also outfall channels for that matter. And the way the British kind of designed and developed this scheme, and the changes that these this system had seen in the last few decades or centuries, like this is amazing, because it is on this that the hard infrastructure of Kolkata is actually standing. And to a great extent we are discussing so much in terms of resilience, urban resilience, and cities capability to bounce back to disasters, to risk. And this is so important, because without this engineering heritage of Kolkata, there is no point of having a discussion about the heritage of a particular city. So, a city not only means things that we see at the surface level, but it is also about the wires and the the complicated structures and the pipelines and sewers and everything that are also kind of are hidden, that we do not see, which are part of this invisible urban, the invisible urban, if we may put it like that. So, yes, I completely agree with them that a discussion on Kolkata or Kolkata's heritage is impossible without shedding light on the historic sewers, or which is known which can be properly conceptualized and perceived in terms of the engineering heritage of the city. Now, I draw your attention to a less explored saga, a saga of mutual inheritance, the saga of sustainable flows between the city and her wider ecological infrastructure in the form of the East Kolkata wetlands. So, we will discuss in details in our next lecture, but I think there are lots of discussions about the importance, the significance of this keystone or cornerstone ecosystem, the East Kolkata wetlands. But I do not think, I have not come up with articles or with write-ups or even I have not heard discussions where East Kolkata wetlands has been perceived as the ecological heritage of the city. Now, what happens if we apply the heritage lens and try to understand the importance of East Kolkata wetlands? So, this is something which is a less explored area, which we would be exploring in this particular course, applying the lens of urban ecological heritage. And why is this so important? Because this is very important so far as the contemporary discussions and debates on Kolkata's resilience are concerned, because there is a big debate which is going on that whether Kolkata is environmentally vulnerable or ecologically subsidized. Because on one hand, the historians, specifically historian Debjani Bhattacharya for example, she thinks that Kolkata is environmentally vulnerable because the British just to promote and to facilitate and to accomplish their colonial calculus of rule, to earn revenues, to have like very promised profits over investments. They reclaimed the city, later which became Kolkata. So, they reclaimed the city from the delta, from swamps or from marshes, but they should have never designed the city on such an otherwise like volatile, vulnerable space. So, this is her major argument, but they did it out of their profit, out of the profiteering and profit making intentions and agendas. But on the other hand, if you go through the writings of Dr. Dhrubajyoti Ghosh, who was the sanitation engineer who passed away few years back. So, his argument is completely different. So, he says that Kolkata is ecologically subsidized because of her riverfront, because of her wetlands, because she is actually located at the mouth of the delta, because she is a delta city, and that is why she is ecologically subsidized, because she has like river Hooghly, the Bhagirathi Hooghly as the channel providing drinking water to the city, which is one of the very important distributaries of the Ganga. On the other hand, like there is this Kulti Gang, there was Vidyadhari and there is Kulti river, which are all like distributaries of the river Ganga, very important distributaries, and there is no dearth of channels and inlets and creeks and streams in the in this lower Ganga basin where Kolkata or Calcutta is located. And that is why the cost of living and the because the cost of infrastructure, built infrastructure was very less on this city, because she is ecologically subsidized. So, she depends on her East Kolkata wetlands for dumping and disposing her effluent, and in return she gets fish at very low cost. And East Kolkata wetlands is just at the backyard of the city. It is located at the backyard of Kolkata. So, Kolkata till date does not have a separate sewage treatment plant, and that is why and that is how Kolkata becomes so subsidized. So, like now which argument has a greater weightage? This is something which we will discuss next, but I think this debate is important to show us that why we need to apply an urban ecological heritage lens approach or perspective when we are discussing urban heritage. So, and I have used this particular concept of what I call web, and web means weaved existential belongings, and I really like this this dotted but very messy and meshed up like diagram. So, and which is a web, and which also demonstrates and showcases weaved existential belongings. Now, when I say belongings here, I of course means that belonging is something that we carry. So, it is our possession, but when I say possession, I do not mean it in terms of like the political theory of possessive individualism, but I mean it as part and parcel of what we carry with us, which are part and parcel of our existential and essential like reality. And so, like it is part and parcel of our survival, of our functioning, and of the days or the future that we can envision, we can think of in terms of the of what we do, what we are able to do with these existential belongings. So, that is why I think this saga, or this the story or the narrative of the mutual inheritance of this larger city nature relationship becomes so very important. So, these are some of the references, and I think all these references are very important. So, you see this article I was mentioning about the engineering heritage of Kolkata, and this is the article which talks about this engineering heritage of Kolkata, where this historic sewers, so the authors call these sewers historic sewers, and of course, because they are part and parcel of the rich drainage sewerage history of the city, and on this the city is actually resting and relying on, we should not forget. So, heritage is not only about the glorious glossy past, but it is also about the invisible city, the second nature, and it is also about that part of the city which is like very meshy, very complex, and very technical, and which we sometimes cannot see, because they are they are positioned at the underground level. Then like this is the book which is about to come out, like 2022 is the copyright, but the book is coming out next year January. And then this article by Suchandra Bardhan and Shoponi Pal, where they have talked about this historical cultural landscape, and they have used this beautiful coinage called the Ghatscape of Kolkata. So, here we have learned that the city of Kolkata is also known as the city of joy, the city of palaces, flaunting colonial edifices and transcultural architectural structures and styles. We have talked about these palatial buildings and the very famous renowned architectural designs, and the buildings and the sites in the northern and central part of the city. Mainly during the time of the British rule. And then Kolkata is also renowned, of course, for not only her tangible, but also her intangible heritage, with the Durga Puja being India's official nomination for UNESCO's 2020 representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, which we had already discussed in one of our initial presentations on global declarations, conventions, and the agencies. And then how the riverfront or the ghats of Kolkata are given importance, should be given importance as spaces of cultural heritage, and how this is being, this is a new development, and that is why there is an epistemic shift in the understanding of heritage. And so, there is also recent scholarship on engineering heritage of Kolkata, historic sewers, storm weather flow channel and dry weather flow channel. And that is why, and here I emphasize, there is a need to understand heritage beyond tangible dimension. That is why this is there in the subtitle. So, it is there is need to understand heritage beyond tangible dimensions, and this gives an entry point to understand the mutual inheritance, to appreciate the saga of mutual inheritance so far as the relationship between the city of Kolkata and her wider ecological infrastructures are concerned, which we will be covering in the next sets of presentation, because we will be applying more specifically the urban ecological heritage lens when we discuss urban heritage.